I'm a moderator for a few different streamers. I get to know a lot of new people. I get to see a lot of new names pop up in different people's chats. I then stay moderating up into the Discord servers, and then in the game itself, I'm also in those in-game streams. Moderating for MLBB is probably one of the most fun things I do, even in pastime, in free time, or if I'm just driving down the road and someone asks a question. It's one of the most enjoyable jobs I've had. One of the first things that made me fall in love with the Mobile Legends was the interaction throughout the streams. One of the first streams I ever saw, there was just so much love between all the people. And so the people itself made me first go, oh, well, maybe I should check into this and stick with it. And then I loved the game itself. Growing up in Oklahoma as a young kid, we moved around a little bit, finally settled down in central Oklahoma and focused a lot on academics. I didn't play a lot of video games as a kid. I had probably an hour a week worth of video games. And so growing up, it was more reading books, focusing on schoolwork. And once I graduated high school, that's whenever I picked up the video game scene. And I ended up landing on Mobile Legends after I joined the Navy, and that's where I fell in love with that. Going to the Navy, the decision process behind that was it's actually kind of a funny story. I had a decent job. I was actually working for my stepdad in Kansas, and COVID kind of hit, and I actually kind of got bored with the job. I wasn't doing as much, and so I went in to apply for the Air Force actually, and ended up taking their tests, and they actually told me to walk across the hall to ask about the nuclear engineering, just because I had qualified for their program. And being a 19-year-old kid, when you're offered $38,000 for a sign-on bonus, I kind of didn't want to turn that down, and that was actually, that's how that worked out. My enlistment unfortunately ended only after a year, just because I had a narcolepsy diagnosis. And being a nuclear engineer, we're in charge of the nuclear reactors on the submarines and aircraft carriers. Unfortunately, if you have narcolepsy, you don't actually have as much say-so as when you fall asleep during the day. Well, if you're running a nuclear reactor, then that kind of puts a large risk for just the boat or the ship itself. And so I actually ended up getting a medical discharge out of the Navy. Just actually the other day, I drive a lot for work. And so I was driving and I was somewhere I was not familiar with. And so I pulled over, I was just gonna take a nap in the car. And whenever you wake up, well, whenever I wake up, I'm really disoriented. And so I woke up to a knock on my window. There's actually a police standing outside the car saying, hey, you've been here a little while. And whenever you wake up, my first thought was, what did I do wrong? But he was just checking on me. I was just been in the parking lot for a little while asleep, but it was definitely alarming to wake up to, but a good thing to laugh back on. Dealing with narcolepsy, it actually affects me a lot less now than it did while I was in the Navy. Stress is actually a big factor when it comes to narcolepsy. And so this game, I will say, has actually helped me with the narcolepsy. I will be home from work and I'll be exhausted, but I can hop on and forget the stress of that day and just be with friends, be with the community, and it actually helps me out. There's a lot less stress, a lot less worries, and so it's really has changed my whole narcolepsy thing as well. It's just kind of I might get tired here and there, and that's really the extent of it nowadays. Meeting all these people from the community finally in person is so insane. It's probably been one of the best experiences of my life, is actually just coming together with all these people that we've been communicating with for years, but never actually seen in person. And so it's like a big family reunion, but without the crazy uncle involved. So that's me. So who am I going to be rooting for in M4? I'm going to be rooting for the Valley. I can't wait for them to represent NA whenever it comes to the world scene and the global scene. I really hope they just completely wipe. I'm looking really forward to the Valley going on to Jakarta.